Donald Trump is running around. He put on his little McDonald's costume. Halloween came early for Donald Trump. Because we know that man's never worked a day in his life. We know that man's never punched a clock in his life. He's never wiped down a table in his life. He's never had to fix his own car. He's never struggled to make ends meet. He does not know what it means to check your paycheck every week and see what you've got left. We see Elon Musk coming in here. He's doing these little contests where he's promising people $1 million in some kind of lottery giveaway if they sign up for his list. You have a billionaire just dangling $1 million to those of us and many of us who are struggling to make ends meet if they dance for him. You've got Donald Trump putting on a little McDonald's costume because he thinks that's what people do. They're not trying to empathize with us. They are making fun of us. Donald Trump thinks that people who work at McDonald's are a joke. Elon Musk thinks that dangling money in front of a working person is a cute thing to do. They have absolutely no idea what our lives are like.
That this McDonald's thing has really taken on a life of its own, and I'm not sure anybody really cares except Donald Trump about this.
Well, it's about owning the news cycle. There's 15 left to go, and he certainly owned the last one.
Oh, once again, Donald Trump pretends to have a job that he doesn't have. Has to fake the whole place because he can't actually walk in and work or pretend that he knows what he's doing.
You've got to secure it.
But it's the idea of what Donald Trump says and projects versus what he actually knows how to do.
I'm sorry.
It's a fascinating place.
I'm learning for the first time. Are you saying Donald Trump didn't actually work at a McDonald's?
Shocking, right?
I'm learning this for the first time. I can't believe the Democratic reaction to this today. That he has caused them to lose their mind.
All right, guys, so we got to continue our coverage of the Democrats and the mainstream liberal media losing their minds over Trump working at McDonald's for a day, okay? As you guys saw at the beginning of this video, AOC was losing her mind over Trump working at McDonald's, okay? Said that he put on a costume, right? She also was ranting about Elon Musk as well, too. This is how you know they're losing, okay? Because Democrats are getting more and more and more deranged the closer that we get to the election, okay? And instead of just admitting the truth, which is that Kamala Harris didn't actually work at McDonald's, and that was the whole point of the move, which is to highlight the fact that Kamala Harris lied about her work history. No. What they do is that they gaslight the American people, and they want you to believe that you have to take Kamala Harris at her word that she worked at McDonald's without any proof or evidence that she actually did so.
Hi, everyone. How we doing? It's 4 o'clock in New York. 15 days to go. It has never been clearer that only one of the major party presidential nominees is living here with us in reality. Over on Earth One, and it's Vice President Kamala Harris. She's making an all-hands-on-deck effort to reach a wide and diverse swath of voters, with Harris making a 3-stop tour of Midwestern swing states with former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney at her side. And then we have to deal with it. What's happening over on Earth Two? There's a presidential nominee running a bizarre, haphazard, R-rated campaign these days. Vulgar comments, crude insults, staging stunts at McDonald's in a desperate attempt to get people to pay attention to his lie that Kamala Harris never worked there. And with each passing day, the big question in American politics is he okay?
Yeah, no, I actually think that the real question is whether or not the Democrat Party and the mainstream liberal media are you guys okay? Okay, that's the real question, because you guys are the ones that are becoming more vulgar, more extreme, more unhinged, more upset, more angry the closer that we get to the election, okay? I think actually what's happening to the Trump campaign is that there's a lot more joy, right? We're seeing a lot of happiness. We're seeing a lot of good vibes, right, from the Trump campaign, which is something that the mainstream liberal media and Democrats claimed that they wanted to see in our politics when Kamala Harris first got into the race, okay? When it was nothing but Kamala ass kissing, okay, for a month straight. They loved joy and good vibes and jokes, including penis jokes, okay, and twerk parties and things like that. They loved this type of stuff when Kamala got into the race. right? Now all of a sudden they don't like it anymore, okay? So with that being said, that leads me to this clip that I want to show you guys, and what I want to talk about here is, again, this continuation of the mainstream level media and their coverage of Trump working at McDonald's, okay? Because the left, they're trying to attack Trump by saying that, well, Trump showed up to McDonald's to pretend to work, but he doesn't actually really support the workers because Trump doesn't want to increase the minimum wage, right? They're essentially making the argument that his policies were actually bad for McDonald's workers, which, again, is just a ridiculous claim to make, but these are the type of claims that are being made on CNN by their liberal economic analyst who didn't actually really study economics, right? She studied anthropology. She read a few studies, and now all of a sudden, she's an expert on economics. Take a look.
And his record is not great for his now colleagues from McDonald's, including the fact that when he was president, he made it harder to go after McDonald's for wage theft. He opposed raising the minimum wage, continues to oppose raising the minimum wage. Actually, we didn't show the clip.
Yeah, we can play it. We've got the clip. Here's what he said when he was asked, oh, should you raise the minimum wage for these fine people at McDonald's?
Well, I think these people work hard. They're great. And I just saw something, a process that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see. These are great franchises.
Yes.
That's what you call in the business a dodge.
Yeah,
he did not answer the question.
In other contexts, he has opposed it. He has likewise cut funding for OSHA, which is the federal agency that inspects workplaces like McDonald's
for dramatically overregulates many businesses.
I mean, if
and adds those regulatory costs.
If you work at McDonald's,
that get passed on in terms of an inflationary standpoint. So,
yeah, I don't think that's true. But
no, it is true.
It's not.
So make it make sense to me, Scott, because I'm looking at no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security, no taxes on federal income.
Abby, I'm already voting for Trump. You don't have to keep going.
Yeah, but Scott,
I mean, I'm already there. I'm already voting for him.
Before Trump, I assume you were a fiscal conservative. Explain to me.
I'm a low tax conservative.
How does the balance sheet work?
I'm a low tax conservative. I like it when Donald Trump cuts taxes because that's what Republicans traditionally do.
How are you going to pay for it?
How are we going to pay for it?
Yeah.
I guess we're going to cut spending and have a smaller government, which is also just fine with me.
You know that under Donald Trump...
we had COVID. Don't start.
No, before COVID, he actually signed trillions of dollars of new spending into law.
I know.
Before COVID.
Fine.
New spending and new tax cuts.
Look.
I mean, the deficit widened well before COVID.
You're talking about 28 beyond that, according to the internet that I was able to research while we were sitting here. So I think it's an unfair attack on Trump, this minimum wage worker issue. Because
McDonald's is not the only employer in America. You know that, right? Like, there are lots of other...
A lot of service jobs.
Am I arguing that they are?
But shouldn't he be able to answer
You sat here and attacked him for attacking minimum wage workers because he went to McDonald's, and I just wanted to point out how wrong he was.
She did not do that.
I didn't attack him for going to McDonald's. I attacked him for his actual record, which is bad for the workers of McDonald's.
But the reason you're sitting here is because he went to McDonald's.
The reason I'm sitting here is because I write on economic policy and I know something about the economic policy.
I guess this is where I need to be clear. She's sitting here because she actually knows things about.
But did you or did you not raise the minimum wage?
No. We're talking about whether Donald Trump. We're talking about what is Donald Trump's
it hasn't been raised
position on some key issues, right? If Donald Trump opposes the minimum wage, don't you think he owes an answer to that question to the voters?
On the minimum wage?
On that, plus all the other questions that we've raised about how he's paying for all these things?
Look, I think he should go out and advocate for policies that he thinks will, A, help workers, B, stimulate economic growth, and C, get us out of the economic anxiety that we have been suffering under Biden and Harris. And that's what I would expect any presidential candidate to do. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made promises to people 4 years ago. Some of it came true, some of it didn't. But that's what candidates do. They have aspirations and they have goals. Now, whether the Congress will do it, I don't know, but that's his job.
It's also within the parameters of what candidates are supposed to do, that when they're asked questions about how is this supposed to work?
Yeah, so I love how these liberal economists and journalists and commentators, they always want to ask Republicans, well, how are you going to pay for letting the American people keep more of their own money, right? How are you going to pay for the federal government stealing less of people's money? But they never ask that question about the giveaways and handouts that Democrats want to do. Like, they never ask Kamala Harris, well, how are you going to pay for that child tax credit? How are you going to pay for giving small businesses $50,000, right? Giving people money to start small businesses. How are you going to pay for that? Right? How are you going to pay for the expansion of Medicaid and Medicare that you want to do? All these things cost money as well, too. And in my opinion, I think they're much more expensive than the things that Trump wants to do, right? Because at the very least, when you talk about the tax cuts, we've seen with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 that also increases economic output, GDP, right? So government revenues actually went up. Although the government cut taxes, government revenues went up because of the economic growth. Now, the only thing that Trump didn't do that I wish that he did is to cut spending, right? But that really should be the answer to the question. I really wish that conservatives and Republicans would stop running away from what we really should do in this country, which is to cut spending. We have to cut spending. I mean, it's getting to the point now where the interest payments on our debt is quickly approaching $1 trillion a year. And in 2023, we took in 4.4 trillion. So you're talking about having interest payments be about a fourth of the total money that we take in, right? The revenue that we take in, which again is completely unsustainable. Okay. So the answer to that question has to be, yeah, we're going to cut taxes because we know that cutting taxes can increase government revenue. But what we also have to do is we have to cut spending. We have to cut entitlements, right? We're going to have to cut the fat that is prevalent in the federal government with the amount of money that we spend on waste, fraud, and abuse. Okay, we got to get people off of the system, which is one of the things I like the most about the Trump administration is getting people up off of food stamps. Okay, getting them off of the government teat. That's happened, right? When you talk about policies that will help working class people, like no tax on tips or no tax on overtime, etc., these things incentivize people to work. Right? So when you have these incentives to work, you don't need more welfare. We don't need more entitlements. We should be cutting entitlements. We should be slashing entitlements across the board, right? If we are cutting back on taxes for the middle class, okay, then we also need to be slashing entitlements across the board because those entitlements are unnecessary. If you are an able-bodied person, you should be working, especially if you are a man. No man in this country that is an able-bodied man should be living off of the government, right? They should not be collecting any government benefits. So when people talk about, well, how are you going to pay for it? Again, the answer is easy, right? Cutting back on entitlements, cutting back on these foreign wars, right? Nobody ever asked, well, how are we going to pay for continuing to send money to Israel and Ukraine, right? And to all these other countries across the world that get billions and billions and billions of dollars from the U.S. government, right? Nobody ever asked those questions. They always want to ask about, well, how are you going to pay for letting the American people keep their hard-earned money, right? This is what they ask about the most. Again, it's amazing how that works. When they come out and they talk about sending another $100 billion to Ukraine, nobody ever asked the question, well, how are you going to pay for it? And here's the thing. This is the trick. They'll say, well, it's a loan. It's a loan. What we're doing is that we are giving old weapons to Ukraine and we're manufacturing new weapons, right? You're still spending, right? You're still spending, okay? Either way, you're spending money. So, you know, it's just funny to me how it's always a question. There's always questions about how we're going to pay for helping the American people keep their own money. But they never ask questions about how is it that we're going to pay for more handouts for people who don't want to work, okay, who want to live off the government, and these welfare countries as well too, right? I'm just saying. But furthermore, when you talk about this whole minimum wage conversation, I love how this liberal economic commentator, I love how she thinks that, well, raising the minimum wage by definition is good for McDonald's workers, right? When we all know the disastrous effects of raising the minimum wage, especially raising the minimum wage rapidly, okay? Like, for example, what happened in California. California instantly lost tens of thousands of jobs when they raised the minimum wage. Businesses shut down and workers work less hours. That's what happens. The increase in minimum wage does not have the intended effect that liberals claim that it has. And we've observed this. Also, on top of that, I love what Scott Jennings brought up about the reality, which is that most of these places don't pay their workers minimum wage. They're not paying their workers $7.25. I'm not saying that it never happens. In some parts of the country, it probably does. But in those parts of the country, the cost of living is a lot lower, right? Which is why they do that. Now, in North Carolina specifically, when I was looking this up, McDonald's pays about $10 to $12 an hour, which is above the $7.25 minimum wage. Burger King as well too. Chipotle pays about $15 an hour already. So again, this is unnecessary. So when you talk about raising the federal minimum wage across the board in states that have a low cost of living, you're going to instantly increase the cost of basically everything associated with these types of jobs, right? And these types of businesses. You're going to instantly raise the cost. And then guess what? Those workers are not going to have the purchasing power that they thought they would have working at McDonald's for $15 an hour, because the price of everything basically went up as a result of the wage increase. Furthermore, a conversation that people really don't want to have, but we should be having, is that why is it that we think that it's okay for people to live off of working at a place like McDonald's? If you are working at McDonald's for 10 years as a cashier and you have not moved up to management, you have not moved up to a higher paying position, and you're just stuck there, you haven't went to community college to learn a new skill or to apply yourself and to get a higher paying job, that is not a society problem. That is a you problem, okay? I hate it how liberals believe that the federal government must step in to correct people's mistakes or to make up for the fact that people are unmotivated, right? If you are the type of person that is okay with working at McDonald's your whole life, being a cashier, but yet you want society to pay for that, you want government benefits so that you can do the bare minimum, right? Which again, I'm not trying to bring down anybody that works at McDonald's as a cashier. I'm just saying that the average American should aspire to be more than that, to do more than that, okay? Those jobs should be reserved for teenagers, people who are just entering the workforce and need to get a job on their resume. They need to learn how to work. They need to learn the basic responsibilities of having a job, who aren't necessarily trying to live off of that job. They live with their parents and they need some extra money for hanging out with friends, for going to school, for buying lunch, for getting gas, etc. That is what those low-skill jobs are meant for, right? They're not meant for people to live off of, okay? The whole business of fast food and some of these other jobs are built based off of having low wages so that the price of the goods and services can be low, so that it is more affordable to society as a whole. But when you change that business model because the government is forcing businesses to pay higher wages to workers so that they can live off of working at that business, which is something that was never intended, right? That was never the intention, okay, of jobs like that. Then again, you ruin it for everybody. And again, that's not to say I don't want people to get paid more. I do, okay? But this is why I support lower taxes. The easiest way for people to get paid more is to have the government take less of your money, okay? If the government takes less of your money, you're going to get paid more, right? Your wages are going to go up. Your real wages are going to go up, right? That's what's going to happen. But the government artificially forcing businesses to pay more, yeah, it has negative consequences that liberals refuse to acknowledge. But my last point is this: no matter how these people want to frame this issue about Trump and working class voters, what we do know is that under the Biden-Harris administration, okay, taxes went up on those at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder and the middle class the most via inflation, via government overspending. The people who were taxed the most are those with the least assets, those that make the least amount of money, those that are working at McDonald's, again, via inflation, right? So again, I love how these liberal economic commentators want to talk about Trump's policies and how Trump, just because he doesn't support increasing minimum wage, how he doesn't support the workers, but under his administration, real wages went up. Can't say that about the Biden-Harris administration. He had minimum inflation. Housing was affordable. Basic goods and services, groceries were affordable, which is definitely something that benefited McDonald's workers, right? Can't say that about the Biden administration. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.